The Final Frontier. These are your adventures as you explore, seeking out new life and civilizations, expanding your borders and exploiting the resources you find, befriending allies, or exterminating the foes that get in your way.
Contact detected entering sector. Configuration unknown. Assessing. Initiating countermeasures.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there is a little thing I forgot to fix. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Trek New Worlds. My name is Tony. Thank you for joining us here on Saturday at 11 o'clock for this wonderful return broadcast. It's been 2 weeks, and I know you've been waiting. Here we are, ready to go. Speaking of things that are new and exciting, what do you think about that new space station we have in the background there? That's right. That's our new command post, our new remote viewing station. Well, you know, things in the New Horizons game are going a little crazy, so we've had to relocate due to some surrounding conflict, shall we say. Either way, welcome to the show. Matthew Landers, I can see already. He's rarely able to catch it live, but always watch it at some point during the week. All right. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm just going to try and... There we are. Fix the problem that I forgot to fix as we were going live. So, which one's this? This is, got it. Anytime you're ready, system. There we go. So, what are we talking about today? Well, it is all about the Andromedans. That's right. We've had some visitors from outside of the galaxy who've decided to poke their nose into the business between the players. Oh my goodness gracious me. And so as a result, we are in the midst of trying to manage this particular stress. How are we going to deal with it? How are the players going to manage a technologically superior foe? Only time will tell. But before we get started on exactly what is going on in the game, I want to give you a quick little rundown on who the Andromedans are. You might be wondering, Tony, I've watched Star Trek, I've watched The Next Generation, I've watched DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. Who are these Andromedans that you were talking about? I've heard of Andorians, we've heard of the Borg, we've heard of the Gorn. Who are the Andorians? Well, the Andromedans. The Andromedans are intergalactic invaders based in the Starfleet universe. Now, for those of you who don't already know, the Starfleet universe is the universe created here with ADB. ADB being the company that owns Federation and Empire, Starfleet Battles, as well as a number of other titles or games. They have their own distinct universe, which for all intents and purposes takes us from Star Trek the original series and the animated series and moves that forward. It does not include the movies TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, or any of the other media that you might have seen. It is purely based on the universe created in the original series and the animated series and moving forward. So, the Andromedans are these intergalactic invaders from the Andromedan galaxy, and they spent many, many years, 200 years, on a journey to invade ours. They are based in they have a base rather in the Lesser Magellanic, can't say that word obviously, cloud. And their ships were first identified in the context of the game in year 166. Now, the Federation and Empire tabletop game has a chronology to it and moves forward and doesn't necessarily apply to the game that we're playing here. However, for context, we're in around year... Let's see here. We are in year... As soon as I can find the map. So we're in about year 100 right now in the in-game universe for New Horizons. So in the normal Federation Empire tabletop game, the Andromedans show up in year 166. So many years from now, and many turns from now, but in the context of this game, they showed up early. Absolutely nothing is known about the Andromedans as beings. Apparently, no one has even ever seen an Andromedan. Andromedan boarding parties, when they board your ship, are composed mostly of robotic combat systems, leading some to theorize that the Andromedans themselves are robots or computer software, maybe AI. Andromedan ships evaded contact when first encountered, but after year 188 in the Federation Empire game, they attacked without provocation. Their ships are equipped with long-range travel technology, but do not appear to intend to return to the Andromedan galaxy. Basically, they're here to stay. With the conclusion of the General War, again, this is in the context of the Federation Empire game, the Andromedans struck the galaxy in full force. The ISE so dispersed throughout the game that they were easy targets for the Andromedan, destroying 2/3 of their peacekeeping fleet. And the peace of the galaxy was quickly shattered, and war returned to a burning galaxy. So I'm reading this from an excerpt from the ADB website, but in the context of the game, there was the General War, and a force called the ISE, basically a bigger, badder version of the Federation, came in and enforced peace on everybody. And then the Andromedans come in and just turn everything upside down. As far as technology, what do the Andromedans use? They use phasers, or at least something that look like phasers. But the rest of their technology is radically different. They have tractor repulsor beams as heavy weapons, sort of something like the Borg with their cutting laser, or that cutting beam that they have. Instead of shields, they have power absorbers for defense, and the displacement device for a variety of operations. In the context of the game, no official direct contact was ever initiated with the Andromedans. So that's sort of who and what they are. What you will notice in the game is that they show up spontaneously, as if they popped out of a wormhole. And that's sort of true because they have their own sort of transwarp technology. In order to find these exit points or these transit ways that they have, you can do that. You can actually, in the context of our game, research the technology, go out and find them, and figure out where they are. However, in order to do that, you're going to need a couple things. One, you're going to need two technologies in our tech tree called RTN Theory and RTN Tuned. Now, those two technologies, in the context of our tech tree, are deep in the General War, or late in the tech tree. So they are contacts 170 in the tech tree, and most folks right now are hovering around somewhere between 100 and 120 on the tech tree, depending on the specific technology. So just give you a sense of how far out that technology may be for some. You'll need a ship with special sensors, like a scout or survey ship, and it has to be independent or not co-located with something else in the hex. So it has to go into that hex and do a survey like you would explore unexplored hex in the context of our game. When you successfully roll, so you will on a success rather, you will find an Andromedan base, along with any ships that are at that base. And once you do that, if you have reserve fleets as a technology and a counter, you can move to assist the exploring ship that's being attacked, obviously, because it just discovered the Andro ships. But instead of it moving just like reaction movement or reserve movement in the context of the game, it's in the context of battle rounds. So when you discover it, you engage in a battle, and your reaction fleet can move towards the hex in question, but each hex that it moves towards the base, or the newly discovered Andromedan base, each hex equals one battle round. So it takes however long, how many hexes you are away from it, that's how many battle rounds it'll take to get there. And if you've only got a scout or a survey ship in the hex, I don't think they're lasting longer than one round. So, from a context of who the Andromedans are and what is going on, that is what we are talking about. And we are talking about the Andromedans today in the show. So, thank you for giving me the time to fix the stuff in the background. And if it is your first time joining us, you're probably wondering, Tony, you're talking about Andromedans, you're talking about Star Trek. What in the world is this channel? This is Star Trek New Worlds. We play a turn-based strategy game called Federation and Empire. Or sorry, we play a turn-based strategy game inspired by the rule set of Federation and Empire, as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau. And the magic of the map that you will see here momentarily is presented through Vassal. All right, we don't have any news for today, but let's talk about the latest and greatest on the economy chart and talk about the money. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. This is turn 70 in the context of the game. Year 100, what were we? 100 fall, 100 spring, 100 fall, 100 spring. One of the two. Turn 70 is 100 fall. Every turn is either a spring or fall of a particular year, and the years are broken into 6-month chunks, either the spring season or the fall season, and we go from there. The Pravians, as you can see here at 54, they are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the economy. Look at that precipitous drop. We'll show you what's going on in Pravian space that makes that happen. The Tholians jumping from the high 50s, low 60s up to the low 70s. They've obviously had some fantastic growth, and we'll talk about that. The ISC at 74.5, the Lyrans at 75.5, the two powers of the CLI close together. The Borak just under 80 at 79.5, the Hydrants 86, and the Kazinti 87. Definitely seeing some specific tiers here when it comes to the sort of the stepping of economies. The Federation at 97, the Carnivon popping at 115, and of course the Klingons continuing to grow at 127.5. You can look at the graph. I made some slight adjustments here, and you can see the degree to which the Paravians have dropped. Can you tell based on the graph when the Borak appeared in Paravian space? I figure it's pretty obvious, but just throwing it out there. So if you look at the graph and you assume that the Borak appeared in turn 65, or at least that's when they started exerting themselves in Paravian space, in 5 turns, look at the impact. We had an economy that was getting close to 80. Or it was over 80, actually. It was getting close to 100. And then a precipitous drop now to 54. Pretty significant, pretty fantastic. Oh my goodness gracious me. All right, let's slide back to the chat. I see some things in the chat. All right, everybody, welcome back. I see here on the chat, as I manage the screens ever so not well. Here we are in the chat. We've got Devin Dean is in the house. Bill Smitty is here. Matthew Landers, as mentioned. Lost Muskrat. Paul is firing phasers on full. You Can't Be Petty is in the house. Big Slow Target, our Klingon player, getting ready. And having been the victim of an Andro attack just recently. We've got George Forknell in the house. And, okay, here we go. Let's talk about some of this. Lost Muskie, how do you do? I rarely catch it live, Matthew says, but always watch it during the week sometime. Big Slow Target. The Andros have probably been attracted by our wormhole fiddling and tech advances. Possibly. Bill Smith, Tactical Reserve Fleets is a tech that you need to get deep in GW, and that lets you respond with ships on bases. George Fortnell says, hey, Bill. Hello, all. Nice twist to the story, Daniel. Yes, the Andros are certainly making things exciting. Well, without any further ado, why don't we jump in and talk about what is going on with our good friends, the Klingons. Here we go. All right, here we are. Welcome. You can see here we are at the border between the Carnivon and the Klingon. And let's hit fleet cap so we can talk about the number of ships and fleets that are out and about. Now, the Andromedans, I'll count them here just because this sort of lets you know how many Andromedan ships are in the mix at any one time. Currently, the Andromedans have 6 ships in circulation in known space, with a total attack of 28, defensive 24, and of course a 40 fleet cap. We'll find them, you can see them just in the bottom corner right here. The Borak have a total of 55 ships, up from their high 40s from before, with a total of 78 attack, 220 defense. Oh my goodness. The Carnivon, by contrast, have nearly 4 times as many ships with 198, with 440 attack, 800 defense, fleet cap of 807. The Federation, 75 ships in circulation with 166 attack, 300 defense. Our good friends, the Hydrons, at 85, getting just a little bit up there. 85 with 189 attack, 363 on the defense. The ISC have 76 ships. They've been sort of keeping that very moderate and steady. 76 ships with 192 attack, 343 on the defense. The Klingons are continuing to grow their massive fleet at 132 with 442 on the attack factor, 643 on the defense. Interesting to note, if you look at the attack factors of the Carnivon and the Klingons, very similar, 442, 440 respectively, but the defense factors, wow, 800 to the 643. That is quite the difference. And of course, the spread of ships, I mean, you've got 132 for the Klingon, nearly 200 for the Carni. Impressive that the Klingons are able to match the attack factor, obviously the big delta on the defense. Our Kzinti friends are at 76 ships, very close to their Federation neighbors, at 174 attack, 306. Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, somebody has fired a coffee. Who did that dastardly deed? Who sent us the photon shot of caffeinated goodness? Ladies and gentlemen, Lost Muskrat, hoorah! Our Carnivon player, celebrating his not only ship count, but military dominance. Hoorah. All right. What else we got here? We've got the Lyrans with a total of 113 ships. Keeping in mind that there's only 3 factions as of the counting of this right now that have over 100 ships, with, of course, the Carnivons nearly at 2, the Klingons at 132, and the Lyrans at 113. Their total attack, 264, 491 defense, fleet cap 496. The Paravians, our dear friends, are down to 17 ships total. They have 42 attack, 105 defense. Interesting, the sort of the difference there, but notice how quickly the Paravians are coming back versus the Borak. Their 42 attack versus the 78 attack of the Borak. It's quite interesting. We got the Tholians with a total of 99, just under that 100 count, with 165 total attack, 434 defense. And that, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, is all of our players. All right, let's talk about our good friends, the Klingons. We're going to start in the top left corner, work our way clockwise around, and we're going to end off with our Andromedan encounter. So as you can see here in the top left, just off that top left, you can barely see it, maybe where my cursor is floating. There is an exploration ship doing some survey, trying to get those last couple of hexes of fog of war that you can see up there. Other than that, the top left of the screen is looking rather dreary. What else do we have? We have our big concentration over at Farscape 1, which is oh, ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired. Photons coming in left and right. I'm going to have to take a quick sip to recover, if you don't mind. Big slow target has fired a photon in our general direction as we are talking about his Klingons. Farscape 1 is currently home to the Tholian Border Squadron, the Home Fleet, and an errand dreadnought, it would seem. Let's take a look at what proliferation of powerful firepower do we have here. We have the Tholian Border Squadron and Home Fleet. Home Fleet. Okay, so Home Fleet, nothing too much there. That's just our sort of status 8 destroyers, the F4s for the Klingons, with 3-4 attack respectively. So 8 of those total. But the big news really is Home Fleet. Let's look at this gigantic. Wow. Okay. This is interesting. Okay, so we got the B-4B. We've already talked about the battleship. But in addition to this battleship, we have a total of 6 M-class cruisers. So these are the early M-class cruisers for the Klingons, the D6M. 7 attack, 7 defense. They can move 6. pretty potent. We have another Y-class cruiser, that's the D4. A total of 13 E4Ms. These are just basically hot rod frigates or escort ships with a total of 4 attack, 3 defense. But we have 13 of them, so that gives us a good 52 total attack when it's required. We have another squadron of F4s here, total of 19. So if you take the 19 plus the 8, that's 27 total. That's quite a lot of F4s. Wow. Then we've got a D6 EM, which has some scout functions, so it gives us a little EW advantage. The prime team, the Admiral, and this is the thing that catches my attention, a large troop transport. Why is that important? The troop transport is typically used for ground assaults, and this particular one has 4 Gs. Now, I don't mean that's $4,000. I mean that is 4 ground attack factors, and this is an M-class heavy assault freighter. Now, what does that mean? That means that it can move 2 hexes versus 1, and it's big, it's bad, and it's beautiful. So we'll have to see what the plan is with this particular G factor. I don't know why it would be there. Even if you went through a wormhole, what could it do? Let's just take a quick look, just because I'm curious. What's on the other side of this wormhole? No planet. And the only thing that's nearby, if we take away the bases, is apogee. And apogee is not something... I mean, you could attack it with ground bases, but there's no real defenses there. So I'm kind of confused as to why you would use the G factor. You could also, of course, use ground assault factors or G factors to attack bases. That's one other option. So I suppose that's something they could use if they went through the wormhole. They could use the G factors to attack a base. Very, very interesting. Quite a mix for the Klingons in that area. Let's continue around the top. As you can see here, we've got some small exploration freighters with E1Ts towing them around. Excuse me, I'm not sure why I'm so hiccupy right now. We've got large exploration freighters rounding out the edges. And as we round around to the Carnivon border, or the border area between the Klingons and the Carnies, we see a deficit, a void of fleet units. So very interesting to see that. As we come down around the side here, we can see on the south, this is where the concentration of Klingon ships are. I'm going to start on the left and work counterclockwise towards the Andromedans here. We've got a number of M-class ships right down the left or the west side. We've got Harbinger, Awakening. These are just names that our Klingon player has named these ships. But basically, 1, 2, 3, 4 D6Ms just kind of cruising around here with some survey ship help. Around the side, we've got a number of fleets, more survey ship action in full effect and stereo sound. Basically, a whole bunch of exploration trying to get to the edge of the map. In addition, we've got some fleet units here. Looks like a lot of F4s sort of in the neighborhood, ready to respond, or at least potentially ready to respond. And Joint Task Force Alpha, let's see what JTFA has. We've got a C4, a crippled D4, and total of 4 F4s. Now, I believe this is what was discussed in the chat around a retreating dreadnought, because the Andromedans, which we will get to here, attacked a base in the area, and I believe the base was right here, and popped it. So destroying that base, I believe those ships were on the base at the time and probably retreated using the base as cover for their retreat, and now we have the Andromedans where they are. In addition, we have first Imperial War Squadron and West Fleet. Obviously, my whoa is working well. Imperial War Reserve, what was it? It was the third one? Was that the third one? No, obviously not the third one. Oh, here it is. First Imperial War Squadron, or War Reserve. So the War Reserve, we have a total of three F4s plus an additional, so 4 F4s, and then we have West Fleet there. I believe Martok is West Fleet. There we are. And that's another F4. So we have a total of 5 F4s in this hex, along with a YBS. I don't know that that's going to be enough to be able to knock out these Andromedans, but what do I know? In addition, we've got an E3, F4, D6M, and a tug in this area. So these things can certainly help. That is for sure. But let's look at the Andromedan. So if we look at the Andromedan ships, we have a 10 attack, 10 defense ship with one satellite ship, I believe. Then we have, which I believe is the Conquistador or Conquest or something like that. The MIS is the mission ship. It has 3 satellite ships with a 5 attack, 10 defense. We have an EEL. I don't know what that is other than maybe an eel. And it has scout functions. We have a DIA, which has G factors. I'm assuming a Cobra with a 5 attack, 5 defense, and another ship, CBR, with a 4-5. So generally speaking, this total fleet count has a 28 attack, 40 defense. It's not necessarily the biggest, baddest fleet in the world, but the defense factors alone make it, I would imagine, something that's going to be challenging for the current disposition of ships to deal with for the Klingons. The Klingons will have to move, I'm going to guess, a substantive number of ships into that area to effectively neuter what the Andromedans are doing. And remember, the Andromedans, just from a technological perspective, they are faster. They are stronger. Their weapon systems are more devastating. They just have an ability to do way more damage to our Klingon friends than perhaps other factors or other enemies might. So that's very interesting to see how that sort of breaks down. Now, the question is, what and how many of whatever it is they're going to build are they going to be able to put out there? If you look at this tug, if this tug remains as a supply point using extended supply, how many hexes is it from their homeworld? This is the homeworld. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that's, am I getting that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 hexes away. Assuming they have 2 times strategic movement, the closest they'll be able to get ships is probably, as a strategic movement node, will either be this base up here where 2nd War Squadron is, or this YBS over here. So they won't be able to get sort of on target with strat move, but they will be able to get very, very close. Certainly within operational movement once... assuming they're all M ships, once the M ships get there. And that's for the ships that can get there, it's really only M ships, because Y ships have a 4 movement, which means if you times that by 2, it's 8, and we're talking 17 hexes away. So really, if you want to be successful in getting ships down there, you got to build M ships and move them there. PDFQ. Now I see that there's a 2nd Imperial War Squadron here. I'm just going to check it out. Again, just a couple of F4s, 2 of them. I don't know that makes the difference, but we'll have to see to what degree the Klingons attack these Andromedans or deal with them in the coming months. Because coming months being the next turn, because I believe that what I'm seeing on the board is insufficient to eliminate them. Certainly, you could damage and cripple some ships, but can you eliminate the Andromedan ships that are there? And the follow-up question is, if the Andromedans do have a base in, as per the description of how you discover these Andromedan transwarp corridors, if there is a base there, what and how are you going to be able to deal with it? Would you find it if you didn't have scout channels in the tech? I don't know that you would. And how are you able to deal with these Andromedan intruders as they sort of pop in? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing to wonder. Also, in the context of the greater narrative of the story, you've seen a number of these auxiliary ships sort of show up. I'm looking for one right now, if there's one floating around somewhere. These auxiliary battleships, they're yellow and red. They'll show up, and our experience with them so far, at least as a player. Here's one. So this guy right here. So these ships have shown up in the past, and when the Borak have encountered them and investigated and interrogated the technology, it's all sort of prototype versions of AI tech. So the question is, are these early versions of the Andromedans coming out to play? Are they shall we say, failed experiments from the Andromedans that they're just sending out there. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I believe that the auxiliary cruisers were the leading wave of what the Andromedans will become. The question is, to what degree will the Andromedans present an existential threat to, for example, the population, the galactic powers in the north, and how will players respond? Here's the question. I see lots of things in the chat. I'm going to slide back and we can interrogate these comments. All right. Big Slow Target says, yay, the Tholian Border Squadron has almost 2/3 of the number of ships that could attack through the wormhole. Okay. FTL is for, that's the large troop transport, for replacing G factors on the YDK if destroyed. Interesting. Bill Smith, Conquistador, Missionary, Eel, Scout, Diamondback, Ground Attack, Cobra. Okay, so those are the different names of those different ships. Matthew is cutting in here. Conquistador is a cruiser. Eel is a scout. I believe the Missionary is also a cruiser. Makes sense. Cobra and Pythons are attrition ships or frigates. He also says the Andros usually have really good repair between combat turns in the ADB game I play. We use directed or partial directed damage against the motherships usually. Interesting. Okay. So the question is, are the Klingons going to be sufficiently empowered with attack factors to be able to grind down these Andromedans? I honestly wonder. I don't know that that'll be the case, but we shall see. All right, let's talk about our good friends, the Carnivon. Number 2 in military power. Actually, number 1 in military power. Number 2 in economic power. Next up on the block. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, the green and yellow, our good friends. Let's start in the west, work our way over the top, and then down to the south. So we have on the border area with the Klingons, we have Wolfpack 4, which is pretty consistent. These guys have been here a dog's age, pardon the pun. Wolfpack 4, you can see here is a... Oh, you can't see because my head's in the way. There's a destroyer and a total of 6 frigates sitting there. Adjacent to them is another frigate with a planetary ground base and a tug. I'm assuming they're going to build a base or something around there. Just to sort of flush out the trade network as we have it. North, we have Tavali with 3 planetary ground bases. Wolfpack 3 up in the north, which you can't see because it's just off the top of the map, but it's at the very top hex. Wolfpack 3, by the way, has a command cruiser, drone bombardment destroyer, and a total of 10 frigates. This is not a small fleet by any means, but granted for the Carnivon it might be. But it's up there farting around. We come around the top. You can see there's some exploration happening in the top corner here, right above my head. And then we've got bases all around. I'm going to move my head to the other side while we finish rounding the block here. We've got in the bottom corner more exploration ships doing their thing, with a tug getting ready probably to build a base here in a couple hexes or a couple turns. As we move down into the southern Borak pocket, we've got the Homan. The Homan, and they are hateful of the Carnivon, really don't like what they're doing, and they've got their Banshee fleet. Let's take a look at the minor fleets and see what these guys have. Homan. So they got Banshee fleet, Banshee. I don't see Banshee. Oh, there's Banshee. Okay, so we've got a command cruiser, heavy cruiser, 2 light cruisers, 3 destroyers, 6 frigates, and a convoy. So certainly not enough to hold back, arguably, the entire Carnivon military, but certainly a speed bump, that is for sure. 5 planetary ground bases and a YDK make things even more challenging. We've got the YDK with Wolfpack 6 now pulling back up the Wolfpacks. I don't believe there's much in Wolfpack 6. Oh, my mistake. Wolfpack 6 is a cruiser, drone bombardment cruiser, total of 4 destroyers, 5 frigates, and 2 crippled frigates. So those crippled frigates, I assume, will be fixed shortly. A couple of more, just to take away the ships here, you can see quite the YDK collection on our way down. Sapphire Fleet let's see, Carnivon, Sapphire Fleet, command cruiser, heavy cruiser, drone bombardment cruiser, 2 destroyers, and 4 frigates sitting there. The big kahuna is Emerald, Ruby, Home, and Diamond. Let's take a look. Oh my goodness. So Diamond, Ruby. Was Topaz there? Come on, be nice. Diamond, Ruby, Emerald. Emerald, and of course, Home. Wow, that's quite the collection. Let's move these out of the way so that everyone can see what's going on here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Diamante has 2 command cruisers, three heavy cruisers, one of them crippled, a destroyer, 3 drone bombardment destroyers, and a total of 11 frigates. Whew. Ruby Fleet has its own collection of frigates, a total of 13, 3 destroyers, 2 drone bombardment destroyers, a drone bombardment cruiser, heavy cruiser, and a command cruiser. The big kahuna Emerald Fleet has a total of 19, Jesus Christ, frigates, 9 destroyers, drone bombardment destroyer, 2 drone bombardment cruisers, 3 light cruisers, heavy cruisers, 7 of them, 3 command cruisers, and their heavy dreadnought. Wow. And then just to round it out, Home Fleet, just for S&Gs, another dreadnought for fun, 3 heavy cruisers, 3 drone bombardment cruisers, and a total of 13 frigates. So just on the frigate front, that's 13 plus 19. God damn. That's 42 plus 55 and 66. There are 66 frigates in that hex. 66 frigates. Just frigates. 66. Holy Dinah. Wow, that's a lot of ships. Okay. All right, that's a lot of ships. All right. 66 frigates, ladies and gentlemen. Holy kahuna burger. That's a collection. All right. So that's our, and of course, just to round things out, we have some exploration happening on the south. So, yeah, so I think it's fair to say that the overwhelming majority of all the military forces that the Carnivon have to bear are in this pocket. Yeah, doing exciting things and making things happen. So that's exciting. Wowzers. Okay, so that's there. We have down south. We have a collection of Lyrans and ISC moving in, but we'll address those in a momento. Let's slide back. Or actually, I guess Matthew Landers had the last comment about the repair for the Andros, and that's where we are. So let's slide to the right. Once I can find my cursor. There we are. Slide over, and we will talk about our good friends, the ISC. Now, we can see on the border, of course, with the Carnivons, because the Carnivons don't do neutral zones, apparently. None with the Klingons, none with the ISC, and certainly none down south. So it's just our space, or soon to be our space when it comes to the Carnivon. I like that style. We've got the frigates with an R&D team. I guess they're going to be swapping R&D teams, the ISC and the Carnies. Looks like the Carnies have a frigate over there, but no R&D team. That'll be coming shortly. A bunch of exploration continue to happen. We can see here, if we take away the ships, no base construction that I can see. Interesting. No base construction going on. Huh. Okay. We go around the top. We can see up here in the top corner the hotel wormhole. We've got Order Fleet and a YDK. So let's pull up the ISC fleets. Whoops, wrong one. And the named echelons, we have Order. Let's slide this over here. So Order Fleet is right here. Light cruiser, destroyer, and a total of 3 frigates guarding the wormhole that goes to the Federation. We'll put that over there just for now. As we round the top, we can see the Foxtrot wormhole, which just goes to unexplored space down between the Tholians and the Paravians. We can see here we've got Destiny Fleet. Destiny has a command cruiser, destroyer, R&D team doing R&D on wormhole tech, and of course 4 frigates guarding that wormhole. As we round the bottom, we have more exploration, and then we have here a YTG on a YBS with 10 EP embarked, making its way down this way. We have a total of Law Fleet. So Law Fleet is a command cruiser, light cruiser, 3 frigates plus a couple of extra frigates. And there's a tug sitting there. I'm assuming it upgraded this base into a YDK. Maybe it's going to move and do some more stuff. Hospital ship down here, I'm going to assume is making its way to this planet to help with recovery. But it's got enforcement and justice fleet there. So enforcement is a YCC and a DD. And justice fleet is a CA. So 2 cruisers and a destroyer. Nothing much there. Judgment fleet is a cruiser and a destroyer. We have Providence fleet, which is Providence. Command cruiser, destroyer, and 2 frigates. We have a destroyer, a light cruiser, and a cruiser on this planet. A frigate here, a captured tug. So this is under, looks like Borak control, heading towards the capital along with these other things. So if we notice, there is a flow of EP coming from the ISC, and it seemed the Lyrans as well, going to the Borak. So without revealing the cards, for those of you that are not involved, neither Lyrans nor Carnivon nor ISC, in regards to this particular collection of events, what do you think is happening here? Why is money exchanging hands? And why are the Borak slowly creeping back from their borders while the others encroach? What is going on? What could possibly motivate the Borak to not fight back? And why are they just giving up space? Very strange. All right. So here's a question I have when I look at this. So if we take away the ships for a second, you'll notice there are these 2 resources here that are blued or neutral. And you have ISC ships on top. This is a question for our GM, Daniel, who isn't with us today, but when he watches this, a good question for him that he can answer at a later date. So if I look at the bases, so we've got base here, we assume that if we assume that the ISC have 4 supply, 1, 2, 3, 4, they should have reach to these 2 resources, right? But if that was the case, so they would have reached that resource. These ships here and this YDK could conceivably block supply. That's true. They could conceivably block supply, except that when you have ships in adjacent hexes, it doesn't. So, for example, you've got home fleet here. And again, home fleet is, just for clarification, this is a big fleet. So home fleet is a dreadnought, 2 CLs, a CA, 2 dreadnoughts, frigate, a scout, and a bunch of prime teams. So home fleet's here, and it should exert control over hexes adjacent to it. So Zulu 18, by example. So it's allowing trade or supply to travel through there. The destroyer, the CL, and the CA here would do the same thing for Yankee 19. So there should be supply that goes from this base all the way down to here if they have 4 supply. Same thing with Judgment and Providence. So like the supply route allows there. So the only thing I can deduce is that the ISC do not have 4 supply. They've only got 3 supply. Which asks the question, why did they move those ships there and liberate those resources if they only have 3 supply? Could this be something to do with whatever's going on between the Borak, the ISC, and the Lyrans? Who knows? That's a question for you to answer. I throw that into the mix. You let me know what you think. All right, sliding down. Since we've talked about the ISC and the sort of encroachment into Borak territory, let's go to the other predator on the prowl, which would be our good friends, the Lyrans. So if we go over to the left, we'll go from left to right here. You can see just above my head, or to the northeast of my head, we've got a lot of exploration happening here. Really pushing, if I take away the ships for a sec, we've got a base here facilitating exploration in this area. So YSR is doing their thing, WSR, so all survey ships. Tug probably going to be ready to build a base there momentarily. And I bet you that convoy is going to do something the same. So we got a lot of exploration here along this neutral zone with the Klingons. Down south, not much going on. There is a Kilo wormhole there that has not been transited, I don't believe. We'll figure out what's going on with that. As we move from left to right, we can see, oh, there's a YDN, 5 attack, 8 defense. I'm assuming that's going to get upgraded to a heavy dreadnought, which is a 6-8 for the Lyrans. We got some planetary ground bases. Foremost fleet. Let's take a look at Foremost fleet. Foremost fleet. Here we are. So Foremost is a command cruiser, 2 of them, light cruiser, destroyer, a bunch of frigates, total of 6 of them, and a crippled frigate. So a little sort of security force sitting on the homeworld. So we move from left to right. On the bottom, we've got some exploration happening with YSRs and survey ships. On the border with the Federation, you can see here there is a commercial convoy heading across the border to the Federation. We've got some YDK action and survey ships happening as well. And wow, there's quite a few commercial convoys heading down. That's interesting. Also, what I note here is that there is a commercial convoy, and it looks like it's an MTech convoy. Why do I say that? Because it has not a YCOM, Y meaning YTech, it is just COM. Commercial convoy. I believe this is a clear indication that the Lyrans have reached MTech. Interesting, I don't see any of their MTech ships yet. It'll be interesting to see what they look like when they build them. All right, so on this YDK, which is right beside the Romulans in question, we've got, collection of frigates here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 frigates, a light cruiser, and they've got a tug with 10 EP and a theater transport with 4 EP. So again, this is all regards to that exchange of money between the Lyrans, the ISC, and the Borak. Very interesting. We've got a chain of ships here allowing for supply as the Lyrans, that is, are still in a war footing with the Romulans in this area. And then on this hex right here, where there's a YBS, we have Home Fleet, and Lyran Home Fleet is gargantuan, unbelievably large. Oh my goodness. Okay. Heavy dreadnought, 6-8. 3 command cruisers. 3 heavy cruisers. A collection of 15 light cruisers. That's a lot of light cruisers. 7 destroyers. And a total of 16 frigates. 16 plus 7, 23. Wow. 38. Oh, no. Was it 23? Yeah, 23. 33, yeah, 38 plus 7. 45 ships. 45 ships in that hex. Wowzers. Okay. Well, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening there. And, of course, there's a chain of tugs heading over to the Borak. So, very interesting exchange of goods here. It would seem that if the Borak are purely the corporation in question, which is what we think of them, the corporation is conducting some kind of deal or some kind of exchange or some kind of contract that is allowing for all this money to come in. The question is, what are they giving up in exchange? It would seem like, obviously, their territory, but how is this going to work out? I ask you, for those of you who aren't ISC, Lyran, or Carnivon who know what's going on, what do you think is happening? Lost Muskrat says, so the chain of supply we were talking about, there are more Borak ships, 7 of them, versus lower number of ISC ships, meaning supply in XX17 and XX19 would be blocked. I don't believe that is how that rule works, but let's just look it up real quick. I am looking up, what am I looking up? So for those of you who don't know, the rules for Federation Empire are massive. Here, I'll slide back here. Here we go. So there you can see Lost Muskrat's comment talking about supply, but and I'm just trying to open up my copy of the rules. So the rules in Federation Empire are biblical in the sense that they are big, they're thick, and they are massive. But the good thing about the rules is that they are broken down in a way that things are easily sort of searchable. And in the context of the rule book, I'm going to say supply with two L's, or sorry, two P's rather, one L. Supply routes. Okay, let's go to 410, shall we? 410. Let's just go straight to 410. That's, yeah, challenging. That's repairs. I don't want repairs. I'm going to show you supply points, supply routes. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my screen here so you can see what I'm looking at. So let's slide back over real quick. I see Lost Muskrat says 411.31. So 411, I'll zoom in here just so you all can see what's going on. So it's a PDF. And the PDF is really good because you can control F and find stuff. You'll also notice that, for example, supply routes is 411.0. The way they've broken down the rules in a numbering system, it makes it easy to reference and identify the rules in question. So, for example, Lost Muskrat told me what the rule was. It's 411.31. So 411 is right here, enemy units, .31. So ships. The supply route cannot pass through a hex adjacent to enemy ships unless the supply route hex contains friendly units or is adjacent to friendly ships, including ships being supplied. Note the distinct use of the term ships and units. So, okay, so the supply route cannot pass through a hex adjacent to enemy ships unless the supply route hex contains friendly units or is adjacent to friendly ships, including ships being supplied. So as per that rule, and again, going back to the map, we can see here that there are ships adjacent and enemy ships adjacent. So the adjacent ships should be able to provide that supply. Okay, let's see what else. We've got bases, so that's not an issue. Off map, non-reacting units. Units such as monitors, which cannot react, do not block or unblock supply in an adjacent hex. Fighters or PF base on such a unit, not a PDU, would react and would block but not unblock supply. So again, this is all talking about as long as there are units adjacent to where the supply should go through, it should go through. So according to 411.31, that rule means that if he has force supply, the ICF force supply, they should have access to it. So note, supply routes for supply points themselves are always, okay, this is 6 hexes because it talks about that. Expeditionary fleets, we're not talking about expeditionary fleets. Supply points. All right. So at the end of the day, when we look at those rules, as I read the rules, it clearly indicates that there should be supply going through there unless the ISC don't have force supply. If the ISC don't have force supply, that would be the only rational reason why they're not able to connect to those resources. All right. So let's take a moment and talk about our good friends, the Borak. Let's not hide the headline. I'm going to take a quick sip. And let's talk about our good friends, the Borak. The boys in blue, the Batman faction, whatever you'd like to call them. So the BIE, the Borak Incorporated Empire, again, is a corporate entity designed to be able to maximize the success, the proliferation, and economic growth of the Borak people. Now, as you may have known, I'll slide back here real quick. As you may remember, the Borak encountered not only the ISC, the Lyrans, and the Carnivon relatively early, but we established a mutual defense pact with the ISC. That was fantastic. It was going well. And then all of a sudden, things went sideways when it came to the Mutual Defense Pact. The IC decided to renege on that agreement and attack us. And then before we knew it, the Borak were engaged in a conflict on the west with the Lyrans, in the east, northeast with the IC, and dealing with the Carnivon. Now, that 3-on-1 scenario was one that the Borak were never going to win. Even if the Borak were just going toe-to-toe with the Carnies, I don't know that they would have been successful. Because the Carnivon are just so, like, 66 frigates. Come on. So the economic and sort of production power of the Carnivon alone could possibly have taken out the Borak. The Borak instead have had to deal with, obviously, this 3-on-1. And in true corporate fashion, they realized that this was not going to work for them. and they had to come up with an alternative solution. So we negotiated a deal. And in this negotiation, there was a specific outcome that was negotiated. And in order to facilitate that outcome and allow for the continued existence of the Borak, there was the campaign of Market Garden that was created. Now, for those of you who are World War II fans, you understand that reference. And as a result, the Borak moved into Paravian space. Now, you can see here, Paravian space is connected to the Borak space with this delta wormhole, and the Borak moved into wow, there's a bunch of stuff that just didn't move. So the Borak moved into sorry, I'm just looking at the map and thinking about things that should be where they shouldn't be, and so on and so forth. So the Borak moved into Paravian space. And as you can see here, in the 5 short turns that we've been in Paravian space, we've had significant victories. Obviously, we now control approximately a quarter of the real estate of the footprint of Paravian territory. We have sacked their capital. You can see here, this is Paravia. It was attacked, devastated, and conquered. And now the Paravians have relocated their capital to the major planet that was adjacent to their capital right there. Now, a couple things to think about. In the normal rules for, and I'll just, I'll pop this up for a sec just so I can get it off the screen. For the normal rules for relocating your capital, I'll just look it up here. There's relocating capital. Is that no? Losing cap. I can't remember what the phrasing was. Okay. Continuity of government. Hey, there we go. There's one continuity there. Boom. Continuity of government. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. So here's the rule. So capital hexes. So replacing a captured capital. The empire. So if an empire's capital hex is captured, which is what's happened, that's 511 up here. This is the section I'm reading. So if an empire's capital hex is captured, the empire will be in extreme difficulty due to the lower economic production. It will be reduced to a very minor power. Allies might help the empire rebuild or recapture its capital. Without allies to provide economic points, even staying in the game could prove difficult. Continuity of government. The empire immediately designates a new capital, which the Paravians did, which can be a planet or starbase. This must be an off-map area. Disregard this piece because we don't have off-map areas in this. The designated planet or starbase must belong to the empire in question. It must be within the original territory of the owning empire, or in this case, the footprint, and the territory must still be controlled by the owning empire. There is a thing. Okay, destroying the shipyards. The only way to destroy the shipyard is to capture the entire hex, which has happened. Simply devastating the capital or all the planets in the system will not capture the hex. As combat cannot end without a capital victory, captured status. Where's the rebuilding of the shipyards piece? It was in here somewhere. Abandoning a capital. Here we go. Declaration. A player may abandon his capital at the start of any of his player turns before production and receipt of economic points if he is at war. If so, the capital is treated as captured for the purposes of 511.3, which was above there, and a new capital is declared immediately, and the 6 turns of building new shipyards begins. So this makes reference to 511.3. Let's go up here and just make sure that I didn't miss something. 511.3. Yep. Okay. So if you lose, a starbase can be upgraded. A starbase can be upgraded to a primary shipyard, restoring the original production schedule by spending 15 economic points on each of 6 consecutive turns. 6 consecutive turns. So when you lose your capital, according to these rules, you lose your shipyards, and you're not able to build anything for 6 turns. Now, when we initially, when the Borak initially did the invasion of the Paravian capital, this was the understanding of the rules. After the capital was taken, and of course the ships lost in that attempt, we lost, the rules changed slightly. The GM made a call with regards to you can relocate your capital and start building shipyards right away. That is a seismic shift when it came to this particular situation. Why? Because now, instead of the previous situation, which was once you sack the capital, they can't build anything for 6 turns, meaning you have 6 turns to position, recover, or get yourself situated so that you can sort of reinforce and consolidate your win, right? 6 turns. And if the Paravian player wanted to have those 6 turns to be able to rebuild the shipyard, he would have to rebuild it in a place where I wouldn't be able to get to him for 6 turns, meaning that shipyard would be further away. So as a result, the Borak assault and initiative was very much a decapitating strike. We went all in, chips-wise, from like a poker metaphor. We went all in attacking their homeworld. After we sacked the homeworld, the rule changed. And because the rule changed after we took the homeworld, they are allowed to relocate and build a new base. And that is a big, big, big change. So think about it. You had 6 turns to do whatever you liked, basically, without the opponent being able to build ships again. So arguably, if you have your capital sacked, you're effectively out. Like, if you're big enough, you can relocate and reconsolidate. But if you're small, you're toast. And really, when your capital falls, that's like the end. It should be, arguably, the end of the game for that player, with some slight caveats. But with the rules as I understood them, as we had them understood, that all-in effort would have, bought us time to be able to consolidate and sort of capture other stuff. The problem is now that there's 3 things. One, the economic loss of the capital in the previous version was devastating. Now it's virtually non-consequential because the new ruling is that he was able to recover all those EP, and whatever EP he had at the beginning of his turn, he wasn't able to spend right away, but he was able to refound a new capital and build shipyards in it within 1 turn. And then once he built those shipyards, he could start building ships right away. Now, because at war status, he can bank money, and he can spend all that money, which I believe at the time was maybe 54, 55 EP, and he can spend that money on building slipways. So each frigate slipway is 10 points, so it's 30 points. A cruiser slipway is 25, so that would be 55 just to build the slipways. And then to build ships, assuming sort of relatively normal prices, about 6 EP for a cruiser, and probably somewhere around 2.5 to 3 EP, let's call it 2.5, for each frigate. So you could build 3 frigates and then maybe overbuild. Overbuilding just means you pay twice the amount and you can build more. So you have 7.5, let's call it as much as 20 or 17.5 plus the cruiser. So let's call it 23.5 EP on top of the 55 he spent to build the shipyard. So that would be 28 and a half odd EP. Sorry, 88.5 EP. No, that's not work. Let's try it again. So 88 or 83 and a half EP is what he spent in that turn to be able to build ships. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's for the purposes here, let me switch screens here. For the purposes of the game, we want everybody to have fun. We don't want we play this game to have a good time and enjoy ourselves. We're not looking to screw anybody over. But at the same time, in a war game like this, there are winners and there are losers. So in the context of this situation, it is frustrating from the player perspective that after you have fully committed and paid the cost of what was going to be a big potential return on that investment or reward, it was a big risk. And as I showed you in the last live stream, the capital assault went down to the wire. Out of like the unbelievable number of ships, like can't remember the total number of ships, but there was, a lot of ships in that battle. Only one dreadnought survived and a couple tugs that didn't participate in the battle, but a handful of ships survived on the Borak side. And had things gone differently in that combat, it would have gone differently for the Borak. So huge risk. And in the moments of making that decision and making or putting that risk in, there was an assumption of what the reward would be. And then after the victory, then the reward changed. And that is challenging from the player perspective if you are, for example, on my side, which is I spent all this to get this victory, and now it's been significantly degraded. Would I have done the same assault in the same way had I known that it was going to be this way? Probably not. I probably would have managed it differently. But as opposed to me just, spitting sour grapes here, what are the benefits of the situation? Well, the good news is we devastated and eliminated their fleet. So at the end of that turn, there was essentially no Paravian fleet to speak of. However, they are still able to build new ships, cruisers and frigates and so on, and so we're not able to sort of finish the deal when it comes to attacking and taking out their capital, or their new capital, I should say. What we can do, the benefit of what's happened is because they have such a limited number of ships, they can't effectively defend their space. So while they can sort of bunker up in on their capital, the Borak have the freedom now to be able to just ravage the rest of their space relatively unscathed. Granted, we blew so many ships. We blew over half of the total number of ships we had in our total fleet to be able to do that. And now, obviously fewer ships, but we have a better capacity to be able to build new ships relative to the Paravians. So, what is the outcome here? I won't lie, as a player, I'm a little salty about how it went down, because the more as I explain it to you now and I'm thinking about it, it's like it's really a big difference. Going from 6 turns to build your slipways to no turns to build slipways, 6 turns of cushion to no cushion, and then just being able to retaliate right away. And as a result of that, by the way, as a result of the retaliation, because I had spent everything to get that capital, and I had no sort of cushion left behind, because the Paravians were able to relocate and build right away, they built ships and attacked me immediately after that attack, and I lost a dreadnought as a result. And a dreadnought's an expensive ship. That was a big loss, and it was frustrating, because when I initially made the gambit of taking the capital, that was not the expectation. And it's one thing if you do something like this and there's no communication, for example, with the GM, because you are working in the dark and you don't know what the ruling is going to be. But I have continue and will continue to maintain open dialogue with our GM about rules interpretations and so on, and how this is all going forward. And so, I was very transparent and clear about the intentions and making sure that we mapped out what it was going to look like afterwards, because I wanted it to be fair. But again, like the rules have just evolved in such a way that certainly did not benefit the Borak. And considering the Borak's tenuous situation, it just makes it even more consequential. So at the end of the day, the reason why I'm going on this bit of a rant is because I guess I'm just venting my frustration, having made that huge bet, not getting the payoff, and sort of dealing with sort of increasing challenges going forward. It makes it very challenging as a player, a challenging puzzle to solve, and when I solve it, hopefully, great payoff. But nonetheless, it just makes the whole thing even more challenging. So, what do you think? Do you think I'm just moaning and groaning and bitching for no reason? Do you think that suck it up, buttercup, and carry on, which is what I'm going to do? Or is something else? You let me know. Eugene says, can the Borak abandon their current capital, move to former Paravian space, and build shipyards and ships instantly given this interpretation of the rules? Yes, is the answer. So one of the things that and this is a benefit, right? This is a benefit of this decision. Previously, the assumption had been, okay, I'm going to have to spend 6 turns investing in the new capital, wherever that new capital is, investing in the new capital and building what I have to build there. So I'll be out of luck when it comes to building new ships for 6 turns. That would have sucked. The good news is, because of this new interpretation of the rule, or this new ruling, I can do it same turn, which in itself is a huge blessing. Like, without a doubt, that is a huge benefit. I guess the balance of it is, if I had overinvested in the Paravian attack and I had the 6 turns of cushion, then I could, in that 6 turns, relocate my homeworld, and we would both be operating at the same time. And in that 6 turns, I would be able to take more territory, blow up more bases, and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't have lost the Dreadnought. I wouldn't have exposed myself in a situation where I would have been as vulnerable as I was, had it been the way that it was. So, but the good news of that interpretation means that I can relocate my capital right away. Also, as I understand it, whereas in the rules, basically, when you forfeit your capital, there's like this civil unrest thing. Basically, your planet goes neutral, and it goes all rebellious and stuff. But based on the reduced severity of the consequence of moving your capital based on the current decision, I will clarify with the GM, but I believe that will not be the case. For example, if I voluntarily relocate my capital from where it is now to another location, as opposed to what the rules discuss, which is the former capital goes into basically rebellion, it'll be a more seamless transition. So I'll be able to maintain the planet. It won't go. It won't be devastated. It'll be perfectly intact. It'll be fine. So I'll assume that that's the case, and I'll have that discussion with the GM. George Forknell says, in addition to purchasing Borak space, the ISC should transfer a DN free of charge to the Borak to make up for the one they lost as a result of the rules change. George, I like the way you talk. Let me raise a glass to you. Cheers. Well, the ISC should transfer DN free of charge to the Borak to make up for the one they lost as a result of the rules change. I'm going to put that on loop, and I'm just going to keep pumping out YouTube shorts with that. So let's sample this up. Ready? In addition to purchasing Borak space, the ISC should transfer a DN Dreadnought free of charge to the Borak to make up for the one they lost as a result of the rules change. I'm going to clip that, loop it, and keep releasing it as shorts. We'll see how that goes. Anywho, I think that's a great call, George. We'll go with that. All right, let's take a second and talk about our other friends in the south, in the Galactic South, as we move down. Okay, I will choose a different. There we go. All right, let's slide in. Eugene Eugene says, is the ISC a welfare state? No, they're not a welfare state, but they are business minded. I will say that. They are business minded. Okay, let's talk about our good friends, the Tholians. Big Red is living large, and there's an interesting development here that I want to discuss. So, generally speaking, why did the Tholians experience such a big pop in growth? So, if I take away bases and ships for a second, so what do we got here? We have Apia. I believe that there were a couple of planets that grew, for lack of a better way to describe it. So every, I think it's 20 turns, 30 turns, every cycle of turns, a certain cycle of turns, planets will grow, meaning that there is growth in the economy and you'll get more revenue. So I believe that there were some planets that grew as a result, and because they grew, there was a significant increase in EP. If I look at my table, it looks like the Tholians were at 66.5 last turn, and they jumped up to 72. So that means they basically made approximately 6 EP. Okay, so let's look and see what we can do here. So if we bring back the ships real quick, and we look at things that they discovered, they didn't discover any new resources. Okay, so then based on their planets, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets. No way. Are we really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 planets, not including the colonies. That means, and this is just a guess, but when every planet goes up, it goes up by 1 EP. If the Tholians went up by 6 EP, that means that all their planets went up by 1. Or 6 of them did, anyway. So 6 planets, Tholian player, you let me know. Did 6 planets go up? That would be interesting. 6 planets increased their size, which just means that's a big, big boost for the Tholians. Okay, bring back bases and bring back ships. So we have a bunch of ships doing exploration around the edge. That's totally status quo. Let's talk about the 101st Battle Squadron and then the fleets on this wormhole. So let's take a look. Here we are. So Tholian Battle Squadrons first. We'll talk about the 101st Battle Squadron, which is the top one here. 2 cruisers. We have a total of 7 destroyers. And a bunch of these tug CPCs. There's 11 of them. So the total attack factor is 1433 for the CPCs, 1435 for the destroyers, and 612 for the cruisers. Not the most powerful offensive firepower fleet in the world, or in the galaxy at this time. We've got first garrison, 4th fleet, and home fleet. So let's pull up these. So we go home first, 4th, and we'll pull up the Tholian garrisons. So Tholian garrison, you can see here, the first Tholian garrison is nothing. It's a DD and some tugs. It's nothing. So let's cover this with 4th fleet. 4th fleet also nothing. It's a survey ship, destroyer, and CPCs, or basically a tug. And then home fleet. Home fleet is a total of 3 cruisers, 16 destroyers with a total attack of 32 and 80 defense. 4 YPCs, which is a 512, and then these tugs, which combined is 512. So overall, the total compot that the Tholians can create is very minimal. I'm going to pull up, there's a table here for compots. I'm going to see if I can pull up the one for Bravo 58, if it'll let me. It takes a second. All right, let's see here. It does it by fleet, but can I get it by the hex is the question. It doesn't look like it. Okay, so maybe I can just I can't do fleet cap either. All right, so let's just look at home fleet. Tholian home fleet. 3rd, Tholian garrison. Okay. Is there just a straight up home fleet? Tholian home fleet. Here we are. So Tholian home fleet, which is the major fleet on this hex, has a total attack of 52, defense of 125 with 28 ships. And generally speaking, the other fleets that are there aren't significantly contributing in any way to what's there. That's the Tholian home fleet, 52, 125. And of course, they've got a couple of bases here under construction. They've got a YDK being upgraded. A YBS will be completed very shortly, if not already. So they're building up some bases there for defense. But what is the thing that they're afraid of? It is the Klingon Tholian border squadron. So if we go up to Klingon, or maybe it's just Tholian border squadron. Tholian border squadron, which is the Klingon ship on the other side there. It is 41 ships with 174 attack and 188 defense. Tholian border squadron on the other side of that wormhole is 174, 188. So just balancing out the disparity there between the two factions. You've got Tholian home fleet with 28 ships and 52 attack. Tholian border squadron has 41 ships and 174 attack. So out of those two, I can see why the Tholians might be nervous. And certainly the Klingons have more than enough to check the Tholian fleet. And even if you include the 101st Battle Squadron, 101st Battle Squadron doesn't have a lot. Let's just, again, 52 attack was home fleet. And as I pull this up again, it takes a second because Vassal is slow. We go to 101st Border Squadron, 101st Battle Squadron. It only has 34 attack and 80 defense. So 34 plus the 52 still is 80 versus the 170 odd of the Klingon border squadron. So when we balance those two out, it's no competition. There's no contest. Excuse me. The Klingons are more than twice as powerful as the Tholians at that wormhole. Both of them have YDKs on either side, and then of course there's other fleets as well on the Klingon side. What was the name of that fleet? I'm just rolling up here. They've got an additional, so home fleet and Tholian border squadron. So Klingon home fleet, I'm just curious. Klingon home fleet, come on, Compot, let's go. That's one thing. Vassal is very, very slow. So Klingon home fleet. So Klingon home fleet is an additional 2435. So 2435 plus the Tholian border squadron. That's nearly 200 attack. Yeah. So the Klingons are very secure on that wormhole, shall we say. Very secure. And arguably are on the verge of coming through that wormhole, depending on their technology. If I'm the Tholians, I understand the concern. It's a big delta. All right. But that's the big thing that's going on with the Tholians is the interaction or lack of with the Klingons when it comes to managing that wormhole. Let's slide up to our good friends, the Kzinti. Let's start in the bottom corner here. We've got our auxiliary battle cruiser that hasn't been dealt with yet, but that's okay. We've got lots of fleets sort of in the area, nothing actually happening yet. We've got an Orion base that's been discovered on the edge of space, as well as another Riemann faction, which is indifferent to the Kzinti one way or the other. But the Kzinti have proven very effective at converting third-party or minor powers into their empire, so I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with that. In addition, of course, we've got Orbital, which is friendly to them. It's a Vudar planet in the north, and this other Riemann planet, which is indifferent. And again, the Kzinti have a very good track record when it comes to this. If we take away their ships real quick, we can see lots of base infrastructure. Nothing. Oh, it looks like 100. This YDK is being upgraded right now, but other than that, no other significant builds going on when it comes to the Kzinti. I'm curious because the Kzinti are building a whole bunch of ships, and I don't see them proliferating the base infrastructure. So I'm wondering where all their money is going. I have an idea. What do you think? Where do you think the Kzintis are spending all their money if they're not building out prolific amounts of bases? How do you think they're spending their money? Keeping in mind, in peacetime, you cannot save money. You can only sort of bank income when you're at war. Perhaps a little counterintuitive, as you want to spend it all during war, but we'll see. Okay, let's talk about our Federation friends. So you can see there's commercial convoy, M-era commercial convoy coming from the Lyrans, heading into Federation space. On the right side, you can see Wadib is still Happy Plus, but not yet converted. Perhaps there's no diplomat there, so perhaps that's on purpose. We have lots of fleets pushing into and exploring space on the edge of the border that was negotiated with the Borak. Interesting. If I take away the ships real quick, base under construction. Excellent. So we've got lots of base construction. They'll be expanding and moving in that general direction. We come around the corner. You can see here there is, now this is interesting. So previously, my head is in the way. I'm going to move my head to the other side. There we go. So you can see there where my head was. Second Fleet, if I take away the ships for a sec. Second Fleet has explored and uncovered this hex in the neutral zone. Why are they doing that? There have been a number of factions that have used unexplored neutral zones as a way to be able to maintain distance between your neighbors and prevent surprise attacks. The Federation has explored this on purpose. I'm not sure if they've discussed it with the Hydrons and whether they're both in agreement and whether this would be an opportunity to exchange, like have a trade route. And if that's the case, that's probably what's going on. Because I don't see a big fleet over here. Like if we look at Federation 3rd, Federation 7th, and then Expeditionary Fleet. Expeditionary Fleet. Like, look at this. These are the fleets that are in this area. Expeditionary, right here. So you got a scout with a escort frigate. 7th Fleet, which is right here. You can see, same, except with the prime team. And then 3rd Fleet, which I will put right there. I'll just put that up there. Boop. Survey ship, frigate escort, prime team. So none of these guys, none of these fleets are war fleets by any means. So I'm curious as to why they would be exploring it if they are not ready to do something with it. I'm assuming, and this is my guesstimation, that this is going to be part of a commercial exchange. And as I see, there's a commercial convoy right here targeting the feds. So I'm assuming that that is going to... There's no YDK over there. Perhaps this tug will build and upgrade a YDK in the time it takes the convoy to get there. I don't know. We'll see. But 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, let's say they build a YDK here that'll be a good trade route, and the Federation will be the hub of trade in the galaxy. Talking about our good friends in green, the Hydrons. You can see a continued exploration along their border here. I'll slide over so it's a little bit... Oh, I can't slide over anymore. Moving into the north, let's take away the ships for a sec. You've got bases in question. Obviously, commercial convoy has been dispatched for the Federation. We've got lots of exploration happening here. Interesting, there is a commercial convoy heading over to the Paravian side. I find that interesting. Very interesting. And but no major military fleets. We do have a bunch of convoys with EP banked here. This is interesting to note. 1, 2. So 2 convoys with 20 EP each. So they've banked 40 EP. I wonder what's going on with that. It could be very interesting to see what the Hydrons end up doing with that banked 20 EP. But again, as we zoom out, I will move my head to the other side and zoom out to the big map. If we look at the big map here, what do we see? We see the Hydrons in the bottom corner. We see the Borak sort of hop, skipping, and jumping across the galaxy. The Tholians, obviously concerned about the existential threat of the Klingons, which are massive up there in the corner. If you look at the mass, like how much space they take, the Klingons and the Federation are very similar in size. Interesting. The Lyrans, similar in size to the Kzinti, just as footprint goes. The Carnivon, probably very similar in size to the Hydrans, although obviously economically different. The Borak are weird because not only are their footprint weird, but they've sort of taken over a big chunk of someone else's space. So it's hard to sort of really tell how they sit in the grand scheme of things. It'll be very interesting to see how this all sort of plays out. But let me go back to the chat and let's discuss. All right. So, Dell, shades and looking cool as always. Paul says, by the look of the three powers are supplying the Borak with EP, but what happens if they decide not to and now attack them? That's a very good point. If we assume the deal, whatever the deal is in place and they're, everything's going according to plan, what happens when or if they turn around and decide not to follow through with the deal and just attack? Well, whatever the arrangement was in the negotiated settlement, obviously whatever the exchange is, that exchange wouldn't happen. So, for example, there's EP already in custody with the Borak, and the IC and the Lyrans continue to send more. So whatever they're buying or whatever they're exchanging for, they're obviously continuing to pay for it. It hasn't sort of changed hands yet. When will that change hands? Depends on what they're buying and how much it costs. If they were to attack, then very obviously whatever they're buying, the transaction wouldn't occur. And so if they're buying territory, maybe there would be a fight for it. The money that they've already spent is a sunk cost, so it's already the money's already there. So they would lose that money that's invested. They wouldn't get the return on that investment, and they would have to spend extra cost in fighting a war to resolve the combat. So now, granted, considering the size of the Carnivon and the Lyran fleet in that little pocket, I don't know how much they would or wouldn't lose, but I mean, it would be a very interesting dynamic if that's how things went. But as of right now, I think it's fair to say that without divulging any sort of details of the deal, it's a win-win, and based on the win-win nature of it, it's in everybody's best interest to see that arrangement reach its logical conclusion. The overall vision of it all is that the Borak were facing an existential threat, being that they would be eliminated if they didn't find a way out. They've negotiated a way out, and they're following through with regards to that deal. Now, it's interesting from a role-playing perspective, because, of course, some of us, most of us, have some degree of role-playing that we do in the context of executing these games. And the Borak, as far as like if you want to call it the state religion, is capitalism. And so the idea of a contract and fulfilling a contract is sort of sacred to them. And so there would have to be either a clear violation of the terms of the agreement that would nullify the agreement. So there would be like an out for the Borak to say, you didn't abide by the terms of the agreement is hereby canceled. Obviously, if they attacked or there would be no incentive to maintain the agreement if war or battles ensued, or if there was something else going on that nullified the agreement. I don't know what that would be. We'd have to sort that out. But generally speaking, the Borak are focused on sort of commercial transactions, and as long as those transactions go well, they're happy. And so yeah, that's what that looks like. So hopefully that is exciting and delighting for you as it is for me. What do you think about the sort of state of things right now in the context of the game? Obviously, I went on my rant around the swapping of the capitals or the attack of the capitals. Do you think I have a case there? Do you think I should just suck it up and carry on? What's your opinion? Eugene, as Eugene said, oh yeah, I got to go back to that comment. So George had said that the IC should give the Borak a dreadnought for free because of the one that they lost. Who was it? Eugene said, since the Borak claimed all space as theirs by their interpretation. What? I don't understand that. So Eugene says, is the IC a welfare state? George responds, they are like your rich uncle. Eugene says, since the Borak claimed all space as theirs, and I don't know where you're getting that, but okay, by their interpretation, not a real thing, space is part of their original empire. I don't understand that statement, Eugene. I'll be honest, it doesn't make sense to me. All right, well, if you've lasted this long, at the hour and a half mark here, then be like Peminder down below and hit that subscribe button. Help us get to the big old 400. We are 5 away from hitting 400 on our way to 500 for this channel. We are a small channel of dedicated players of this game and fans of the story. So if you like this, then please share with 2 friends or tell 2 friends. And help us get towards that goal of getting to 400, hopefully by the end of this week, certainly by the end of the summer. So that's our goal, that's our plan, that's our goal. We'll see how it goes. But other than that, I wish you all the very best, and I will see you next week. Peace space, Borak space. I don't understand, Eugene. It doesn't make sense. Peace space, Borak space. Anyway. I will see you all next week. Ciao for now. And I will see you, for those of you who have the Coffee and Discord tier, I will see you in the Discord channel after this live stream. So, ciao for now.